Good morning.
Good morning.
I think we should change the time every week because I got a full crowd here today. I'm here because I was getting things ready and the lavalier, the wire snapped, and so it doesn't work. So I'm going to work with from the podium, and I'll just use my booming voice from behind the altar a little bit later. So I think you can tell I can boom it out. So. I want to give a little bit of introduction to this story of the gospel. I'm focusing entirely on today's gospel. So the first thing is, in John 12, there is a passage where some Greeks come and they see the disciples and they say, "Sir, we wish to see Jesus." This is the turning point in John's gospel. Prior to this, Jesus is working with Jewish people and then the Samaritans, but now he's working with Gentiles. It is even called by the scholars, this division, before John 12, and where the Greeks want to see Jesus, they call it the book of signs, and afterward it's called the book of glory. So it's the clear dividing point. And it's a dividing point not just of what Jesus is saying and what encountering in this gospel, but from John's community. It's the transition from Jewish origins, Samaritan peace, now becoming a Gentile church. And so this is the key passage, the dividing point in the gospel. And so we are in what I'd call the second phase of three phases: Jewish phase, Samaritan phase, and then Gentile phase. And the story of the Samaritans is an interesting one because these are people that are not racially or ethnically of ancient Israel. That group, those 10 tribes, were carried off by the Assyrian Empire in around 720 BC. And they brought people from all over that empire to settle where those tribes had been. And they embraced the faith of ancient Israel. And they hold very deeply to Moses and especially the first 5 books of the Bible. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. They hold to the Jewish law, the Israelite law that's in there. And yet they do not see having a part of King David. They don't have a part in the Temple of Solomon. That is where the division took place. And so they can be just as rigid in their faith, in their relationship with God, as the Jewish people were around their temple. And Mount Gerizim, where this story takes place, it's very near there, they even established their own temple for killing of animals and sacrifice and so forth. But if they're looking for a Messiah, the Jewish people looked as a new King David. They looked for a new Moses. So they are set in their ways. They have their ways of doing things, and just because they're different from the Jewish people, it has a definite purpose. It can be rigid, and they too look for a Messiah. So it's out of this background that I want to go into today's story, because it's unusual in that Jesus is an evangelist. He is trying to get this woman to move away from what she has learned all her life into taking that background and moving into something new. And she is throwing up obstacles all along the way. But it's a sign of evangelism in Jesus' perspective, as John is presenting it, is a one-to-one understanding. So let's go into it a little bit. Let's look at what this encounter is happening And let's watch this woman's objectives, her obstacles that she's deliberately putting in Jesus' way because she wants to know, she wants to understand, she's ready to listen, but she has her principles and values from which she has known always. So the first thing that happens is he's by this well. It's attributed to Jacob. Here we are in Samaria, but it belongs to Jacob. It's going back to the book of Genesis. It's important. It's a place that is to be honored. And here's Jesus, a Jew. Why does she know he's a Jew? It could be even how he speaks, but more likely by the way he's dressed. She knows that he's Jewish. And with this, the woman is there, and she's drawing water. And Jesus says, "Can you give me a drink of water?" And the woman throws up her first objection. "What are you, a Jew, asking me, a woman of Samaria? You're not supposed to have anything to do with me, and I'm not supposed to have anything to do with you. So why are you asking?" He doesn't have a bucket. He doesn't have a rope. He doesn't have any way of getting that water. But he asks for it. And she's asking why. And with that, he says something that confuses her. He says, if you knew what, I'll give you living water. And with that, there's a new objection coming. Well, what do you mean this living water? Do you have some place where water flows? You have somewhere where there's running water? Tell me where it is, because I'm tired of going to this well all the time. Tell me where that living water is. And he's talking about a spiritual property of water that is, you'll never thirst if you drink of this. It's eternal. It is this relationship that I'm offering to you to look to God. It's eternal and it's special. She said, "I don't want to hear that. I want to where's that flowing water? Where is it?" So with that, the subject changes, and Jesus says, brings up the subject of the husband. And with that, she says, I don't have a husband. I've had 5 husbands. And with that, you kind of wonder, maybe the reason that woman's coming to the well by herself is because no other women want to be associated with her. She's kind of an outcast. Yet there must be something about her that 5 different men want to marry her. Now, I don't understand that, but that's, you can imagine whatever. And with that, Jesus says, "You're right. There is no husband, and you're living with somebody that's not your husband." And then with that, she says, "Sir, I see you're a prophet. You know this about me, and how could you?" But what's interesting here is he's not judging her. She's got this background. So be it. The people that he's working with are not perfect people. And he's not sitting there judging her. He's just having a conversation. And with that, she's struck by that too, because she has probably lived with people looking down on her, people making statements about her, a subject of gossip. She's lived with this a long time, and she's expecting that from Jesus, and he's not doing it. But she still has objection. And so now she moves into religious matters. She said, you Jewish people, you have your way, we have our way. Maybe we just shouldn't have anything more to do with each other. And with that, Jesus defends his Jewish background. Salvation comes through the Jewish people, but whether it be in the temple or here at this mountain, it's no longer going to matter, because something new is coming. A new relationship with God. It's not going to even matter whether you're a Jew or whether you're a Samaritan. It's not going to matter anymore. And with that, she has a last challenge. And she's shocked by the answer. She says, you mean we're all Jew and Samaritan, we're looking for a Messiah. And the word Messiah means anointed one. It could be Moses, a new David. The word Christ means Messiah. And with that, Jesus says, I am he. And with that, she's thunderstruck. She can't believe the person she's encountering. She's excited, she's dumbfounded, and she's thrilled. And with that, she leaves. And she doesn't even take her bucket with her. She leaves everything and goes into town. Meanwhile, the disciples return, and they said, have you had food? And he said, the food I provide is basically food of life, the bread of life. And they're saying, where do you get the food? It's like the woman said, where do you get the water? Where's the running water? Well, where's the food? They are like her in that they're not completely understanding what's going on. And with that, the woman has told the people in her town or village, come and see this person. Come and see him. He knows everything about me, and there's no way he could do that. We know he's come from God. And with that, she brings a crowd. And they get to know Jesus, and they believe too. And they said, we don't even have to look at your testimony. We can believe for ourselves. Thank you for bringing us to him. We are so excited. We are so thankful. We have been with the Messiah. Who that Messiah is, what he's about, how they're to respond. But they have caught this. They have found this faith. They have found this new relationship with God, and they are just as excited as the woman is. Disciples are probably saying, this is a good thing. I don't know how it's happening, but it's a good thing. And with that, the story concludes. And the question that comes to, and John is asking those who are reading this gospel, and through that, to you and me, where are we with Jesus? It's not just to know about Jesus, it's to experience Jesus so that he makes a difference in our lives. The Danish philosopher Søren Kierkegaard described this as the leap of faith. You can use reason and your mental faculty to put this piece and this piece and this piece together, but there comes a point where you got to make a leap of faith. It's like there's this spiritual chasm that you have to cross, so that this understanding of Jesus as Son of God takes control in your heart, and it brings a commitment that has not been there before. C.S. Lewis, in his story of Shadowlands, he talks of the same thing, but he puts it in terms of learning to be a diver. He said when he was a child, he wanted to be a diver. And every time he'd jump off, whether it was a diving board or a pier, whatever it was, he would jump and try to make the dive, and then in fear, he'd just go in feet first. And then as time went on, he would try to bend over, and at the last minute pull out, and there'd be a belly flop. But then, finally, he found a way, the courage, to put his hands up, lean over like every other time, and this time go straight in. And there's no splash, there's no hurt. You just glide in. And he said, when I came out of that, a diver was born. And that is what he brings out of coming to have Jesus come into your life. That's that leap of faith that he brings out. Now, I want to conclude with this. Matthew, Mark, and Luke tell a story of Jesus encountering the disciples at Caesarea Philippi. And he asked the disciples this question: who do people say that I am? And they respond, some say Elijah, some say Moses, some say one of the other prophets. And with that, Jesus says, who do you say that I am? And with that, it's Peter that blurts this out. You're the Messiah, the Son of the living God. Now, those are not the same. Messiah means favored, in God's favor. King David was favored by God. Moses was favored by God. But they were not the Son of the living God. So, Messiah, what does it mean? How is it implied? When I was I was called active duty as a Navy chaplain during the first Gulf War. I was at El Toro Marine Corps Air Station, and this was in 1991. And when the war had concluded, I was supposed to go to Saudi Arabia, but the thing went so fast, I didn't need to go. And I was there to be chaplain to 2 squadrons that were coming back. And they wanted me to come to one of their parties, celebrations, and they decided that my call sign should be Messiah. And I said to them, that means a lot, but you need to know I'm not your Messiah. I am not. There's other people that are, but I'm not. But we said, well, we're going to call you that anyway. I said, okay. But Messiah means simply favored by God. But Son of the living God brings that divine quality of Jesus as the Son of God. And that moves it into a different way. And so I leave you with this question. Who do you say that Jesus is? Can you take that leap of faith and say from your heart who Jesus is? And the second question is, who are you? Who are you? I urge you to ponder, as Mary pondered things. I urge you to ponder that your answer to the first question has great bearing on your answer to the second. Amen.
Amen.